If we lose that, we're losing that proactive, effective work to protect our community from the climate crisis that we're in.
Well, that's the warning from an environmental leader in Portland. Mary Pivoteau co-founded Neighbors for Clean Air. They're a grassroots advocacy organization based downtown. They've been around for 15 years, fighting for, you guessed it, clean air.
In our communities, in our neighborhoods, where our children are playing and living, and address the regulatory gaps that potentially still leave them at harm.
But when it comes to addressing larger threats to the environment, that's where Mary's team relies on Multnomah County's Office of Sustainability.
They've been our kind of key ally almost from the beginning because, again, what we saw in this gap in the regulations is that this is a public health issue.
So what exactly does the Office of Sustainability do? Well, along with supporting local groups like Mary's, it works to reduce the county's carbon footprint, like making county buildings more efficient and preventing high diesel emissions at county-run construction sites. It also advocates for changing laws that impact the environment. For example, the county's wood smoke ordinance, which prohibits wood-burning fires on days when air quality is forecast to be poor. And the office is also a sort of center point, if you will, for all the other climate work happening in the county. Now, a good example is their climate justice plan. It's right there. It was released earlier this month. Part of their plan is transitioning the community to 100% renewable electricity by 2035 and 100% renewable energy by 2050. However, any momentum towards those goals could soon slow or stop thanks to proposed budget cuts. Commissioner Meghan Moyer is proposing the largest cut, eliminating 4 positions, leaving just 1 person in the entire office.
Stunned, absolutely stunned. For an office that operates on a tiny budget, you know, the outsized impact that it's had in proactive public health work related to air pollution, to the climate, to the critical energy infrastructure, the CI hub, which is a disaster waiting to happen in our community. Them being the only government entity that's really stepped in and stepped up to address, you know, how we mitigate that risk. You know, the problems that they're taking on are huge, and they do it at a tiny cost. So it makes no sense.
Now, cutting those 4 positions would save the county nearly $700,000. Commissioner Moyer wants to put most of that towards fighting the immediate crisis on our streets by expanding a homeless mobile intake team and providing services to people with mental illness. On Thursday at 2, there's a rally outside the county building against these potential cuts.
I don't think it's one for one. I think these are false choices that they're giving us in terms of when, you know, pulling from one to put to the other.
Okay, now another person warning against these cuts is a familiar face, former Multnomah County Commissioner Shashila Jayapal. She sent a letter to the Board of Commissioners this morning, and I caught up with her just a few hours ago.
Let me just say that this is such a hard budget year that the Commission is facing, and as I said in the letter, I really didn't take it lightly to decide to say something. But the reason I decided to say something about sustainability is, to me, this is a different kind of cut. This is gutting an entire body of work. It's gutting work, the county's work on sustainability and climate change, when we know that climate change is the most existential threat that we're facing. There's no other organization in the county, in this region, that I think has the credibility, the trust with community organizations, and the expertise to do that kind of convening work.
Now, Jayapal argues it's a relatively small department in terms of cost, and the county, in her opinion, should be able to fund both efforts, fighting climate change and homelessness, not one or the other.
It already took a cut in the chair's proposed budget. It's now in there at about $1 million. It's a department that punches above its weight. It's a force multiplier. I think it's really hard for all of us to spend time, money, energy, investment in preventing long-term harm when we see what's happening imminently, but we've got to be able to do both. The message that it sends to say climate change and sustainability are not a priority, given what we see happening in the city, the county, the region, go on and on and on, is also a pretty pretty damaging.
So joining me live now is Multnomah County Commissioner Meghan Moyer. Commissioner Moyer, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you heard former Commissioner Jayapal there saying making cuts to the Office of Sustainability sends the wrong message to the community. So tell me, are climate change and sustainability priorities for you? Because this proposal suggests otherwise.
Well, I think it is really important to differentiate between a standalone office that is not part of any department or part of county management that puts proposals forward with 6 FTE as our standard of what is committed to sustainability. My proposal is not an elimination. It's actually saying we need to embed sustainability in county management and in every department that Multnomah County has. It can't be a standalone entity that advises, from afar. It has to be embedded as we design every program, as we look at every new project, as we create health policy. So, I really want to push back against FTEs or, number of employees with the title sustainability is the definition of how committed Multnomah County is to sustainable practices. I'm actually pushing a proposal that embeds sustainability systemically throughout the county and not as this isolated office. So, I push back against that frame. And I would also say the 2 offices that have both, now my reduction in staff is the highest, but Commissioner Singleton also identified 2 positions. We are, viewed as the 2 most progressive members of the county commission, and certainly have gained the support, and I was proud to gain the support of environmental organizations, and neither of us would say we are stepping back from our commitment to sustainability.
So we did hear, though, earlier in the show, what this office does, and some people say it does a lot of good work, and some argue that leaving just one person to do the work of an entire office will be completely ineffective. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm going to push back that it's been this incredibly effective entity. I think it is a little bit of greenwashing. Here we do put forward a department that has focused on the actions of other entities, other governments, telling them what to do, but has in fact no role officially in how the county itself operates, what our sustainability is. Was not a leader, frankly, in the CEI conversation. I had 2 top priorities coming in to office. One was a tough, important CEI hub ordinance, and the other had to do with board rules. And the Office of Sustainability, without the authority to do so, without board input, went down to Salem and told the legislature that we were okay with being preempted from doing something locally for a bill that the legislature is putting forward, which is far less ambitious than what I was working on. So, I push back that they have been this incredibly effective entity. I also think, it is not the job of an office to decide the policy of the county and to go lobby on behalf of Multnomah County with other government entities that we didn't reach out to, we didn't talk to, and we haven't cleaned up our own house. So, I'm really saying we have to lead internally. We have to take accountability. I think as a member of the queer community, I am pretty skeptical about performative allyship or performative leadership. I'm about results. Corporate pride is insulting to a lot of the queer community, much like I think telling every other government how to be green while we're not digging deep about what is our input, what is our authority. The climate action plan, I actually recommend people read it and then say to me how much of what is in that action plan is actually in the control of Multnomah County and how much of it is totally outside of our control, and say, was that really the right use of over $1 million a year?
So stepping back, though, looking at the entire $4 billion county budget, the Office of Sustainability comes in around $1 million, so it's relatively small. I mean, were there any other departments where cuts could be made, or are you just solely targeted on this one in this case?
Oh, absolutely not. And I've said very clearly that my priorities when it comes to budget allocations are direct services to the public. And so I am internally have been an absolute hound on the growth of HR in the county and the amount of HR employees we have in relationship to the number of overall employees we have. And I'm actively pushing a reduction there. I'm putting forward tomorrow a proposal about restraining our materials and supplies budget. I've asked us to look at all of our internal functions because we have to be able to deliver a high level of service in a budget constraint environment, not just this year, but for the next several years. So, I have been honest that I am putting direct services above internal services to the county because we have to continue to deliver to our most vulnerable. And the proposal that I put in place as to use this money instead is a program to actively reach out to our homeless population that experience severe mental illness, enroll them in Medicaid long-term care, and be able to have the federal government pay to support those individuals in housing and in services long-term. That $500,000 commitment will result, hopefully, in $10 million worth of services. So I am looking at maximizing every penny to deliver for the residents of Multnomah County.
Okay, Commissioner Meghan Moyer, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Now again, this is just a proposal. The final vote on the county budget is expected June 12th. But talk to us. What do you think about Commissioner Moyer's amendment? Should the Office of Sustainability be trimmed down to just one position, moving that money towards homeless efforts? Email us at thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail 503-226-5090.